Oh, wait! Will you be the Holmes to my Watson? So, Holmes and Watson is one of those movies from 2018 that I don't think anybody saw. Except for me. I did. I saw this movie.
Stop this trial!
Of course, this film stars Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, who have also co-starred in movies like Step Brothers, which is a almost cult classic comedy, which is too many C's to be in one sentence, but that movie is a movie that a lot of people really, really love. It's kind of this cult comedy, and for me, I don't really care for it. I think it has some funny moments, I think it has some good set pieces and jokes, but for the most part, it's kind of a underwhelming, meh comedy. And since Step Brothers is a movie that a lot of people love and think is legitimately funny and entertaining, of course, the film industry just says, okay, the filmmakers, the writers, all the people that worked on it aren't the people that made this successful, it's Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, so let's cram them into as many things as possible, and Holmes and Watson is one of those movies, and fortunately, it seems like it may be one of the last of its kind because this movie not only flopped commercially, but it also flopped critically and audience-ly. Nobody liked this movie that actually saw it, and anybody that saw it or says they saw it was probably lying. Whoa.
What the hell?
Before the movie even starts, I'm left in a state of shock. I don't know whose idea it was over at Mosaic to have this nice looking logo be dubbed over with a whoa sound.
Who's got any ideas of how we can make our logo better? I have an idea, sir. Go ahead. There's a popular trend on YouTube right now where people just react to things. So why not have a guy react to the lightning bolt sound?
Fire that guy. Fire that guy ASAP. That was a horrible decision.
And I'm looking forward to be friends with each and every one. Get him! What?
School was not easy for Sherlock. He was picked on constantly. They were relentless.
What kind of stupid dog is this? No!
But the actual opening of this film is far more strange because I've seen two different openings for this movie, believe it or not. One is the Vudu version. I actually legitimately bought this movie in 4K on Vudu. And the version that is opening the film on Vudu is this version where Holmes goes to a school for kids, and as a kid, he learns to become a professional narc and to get rid of his emotions by sucking a tear into his eye. And he rats out his whole class, and then everyone gets expelled, and he's the only student left. And that's where he meets John C. Reilly's character, Dr. Watson, and then they have exploits from there. And it's a fine opening. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, aside from just some bad filming, bad cinematography, bad performances. But the opening itself is a fine comedy opening. But the one opening that I saw that was much stranger, I don't even know how I saw this or where I saw this, but I saw this opening where instead of opening with kids, it opens with John C. Reilly about to kill himself. I'll put some footage up here now if I can find it. But John C. Reilly's about to kill himself, and Will Ferrell is like slapping a vegetable in his garden and calling it names or something. And then John C. Reilly is about to jump off this roof, but Will Ferrell says, "Don't jump off the roof onto my plant, jump off into the bushes so you don't destroy my plant." And right at the last second, John C. Reilly wants to not kill himself, but then he slips and falls anyway, and he falls on to Will Ferrell's vegetable, and then they become friends from there because Will Ferrell saved him from killing himself? It's an incredibly bizarre, jarring opening that actually makes no sense, is shot so horribly that I can't believe it's this is actually a studio product. And the performances are absolutely dreadful. It feels like an opening that they shot after the whole film was already made. It's shot on like this tiny lot, and there are insert shots of John C. Reilly's face against just a blue background that looks terrible. It's such a bizarre opening, and it's good that they reshot it or re-edited it or whatever they did to this opening. The opening that's actually accompanying the film on Vudu is quite a bit better and actually feels like it was a part of the movie.
From now on, when people utter the name Sherlock Holmes, they will picture this.
So the film goes on to show Holmes and Watson acting the fool in their room, and then in a courtroom, and then in their room after that. And this is practically the whole movie. There are hardly any sets or locations in this movie, and everywhere they go has this ultra-low budget high school production feel. Outside of their apartment, they go to a local park where they make fun of Trump for no reason. As if your audience wasn't small enough already, you alienate half of those people with this dreadful out-of-place joke.
An assurance that only the finest and most qualified man will lead, not a wealthy tyrant who cares for nothing but himself.
Wrong. Well, anyway, they go to the Queen's castle where the joke is that Watson keeps grabbing her hand.
Sir, don't touch the Queen.
Oh! What I think they're going for with this film is a sort of parody of the Sherlock Holmes story, the mythos around this character. And it fails so spectacularly, I can't believe that it's really a parody. It's kind of not.
Hudson! 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 Help! Hudson! Watson has stuck a carrot up my bum! Hudson! Help! Fire! Call the police! Hudson, your mother has died! You brain-dead bag of bones! Hudson! 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 Hudson, where are you?
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more!
There's hardly any parody or satire elements in this movie, aside from them just saying that medical practices back in that time were bad, and that cocaine was something people enjoyed doing. That's not a parody or a satire of the source material, it's just parodying the time period. So how is this a parody? At first it seems like Sherlock is going to be this loser that just makes a ton of terrible decisions and gets nothing right. But throughout the movie you learn that all his stupid decisions, or seemingly stupid decisions, are all hyper-calculated, and all his terrible decisions that he makes are correct.
This man is not Moriarty.
Does it look like Moriarty? Now! Who is this?
Jacob Musgrave.
The movie never presents this character as somebody who is stupid, and yet constantly through the movie, he's doing nothing but stupid things. He falls for a lady who doesn't talk and acts like a cat.
Just a touch of triple.
How are we supposed to think that this character is the smartest detective in Scotland Yard when he's falling for a scientist that's pretending to be a cat? So there's a corpse in a cake and Holmes poisons Watson just because. I mean, I guess they wanted to figure out how the corpse died, but who cares how the corpse died, because this is literally what comes of Holmes poisoning Watson. Nothing. Just nothing.
Wake up, Watson, wake up! We have work to do.
Watson? Who's Watson? I kill him! You son of a bitch! Please, give me the antidote!
Drama queen syndrome.
But I think the biggest issue this movie has, ignoring all the other problems, is that the main two performances of Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly just completely destroy the film, because it's as if you would have two SpongeBob characters in the lead role. And if that doesn't sound like an absolute nightmare, I don't know what does. But that is essentially what Holmes and Watson is, because you have two bumbling idiots in the main role and nobody challenges them ever. Everyone just respects them as these ultra smart detectives. I mean, the comedy in SpongeBob comes because people don't like SpongeBob. SpongeBob is this bubbly, over-the-top cartoon character who does idiotic, brain-dead things, and people call him out and say this guy's insane and this guy sucks and he's stupid. This movie would have benefited so much from having an everyman. I hate to harken back to 2016 Ghostbusters because that movie sucks so bad, but Leslie Jones in that movie is funny, and really the only thing funny about it, because she reacts like a normal person to all the supernatural things happening. But there's no character like that in Holmes and Watson. There's no character to react to all the crazy things Holmes does like an average person would. Even in the Guy Ritchie movies, Guy Ritchie understood that he needed an everyman to counteract the craziness of Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr.
I've been reviewing my notes on our exploits over the last 7 months. Would you like to know my conclusion? I am psychologically disturbed.
How so?
Why else would I continually be led into situations where you deliberately withhold your plans from me?
And that character is Jude Law. Jude Law is the character that is the logical person in the movie and reacts like a normal person would. And there is nobody like that in here. Watson should be that. John C. Reilly should be the straight man. But he's not. He's just another bumbling, brain-dead character.
What are you wearing?
Stop. Bloomers?
A brassiere?
I'd wager you'd look good in anything.
So now the Queen comes to Holmes' house and they accidentally kill her, but this man's weird face just brings her back to life, I guess, making this whole scene pointless. Great. Look at this shot. Or this one. Or this one. Doesn't this movie look great?
Why am I reeling in confusion? What is this fever in my head? Is it pox? Maybe gout. I can't seem to work it out. And why don't I feel triumphant? And why does it seem less than right that
Stop. I can't do this anymore. I can't listen to this movie anymore. Will Ferrell's voice is legitimately giving me a headache. I feel like I'm getting torn up from the inside out. I just can't handle it. I'm gonna throw up if I keep going. I gotta stop. Oh, that's it. That's all we get. Okay, well, let's get back to it. Where was I? So it turns out that Miss Hudson, the famous character, Miss Hudson, was behind it all.
Mrs. Hudson is the killer? Oh, blimey! How'd you work that out?
Why, it was Watson who told me. You see, beet sugar. Mrs. Hudson's family recipe and Watson's favorite. He never would have left crumbs behind unless he was leaving me a clue. For you see, Mrs. Hudson's origins are not so humble. She is none other than the daughter of Professor James Moriarty.
Nah, it ain't possible.
You see, Mrs. Hudson never knew her father. He was never present. To gain his love, she tried to pull off the greatest crime ever. Destroy the great Sherlock Holmes.
There's nothing really to indicate that at any point. There's nothing that leads up to it. They just reveal that it's her, because no one would see that coming. So it's a shock, right? Well, no, because there's nothing that leads up to that. So why am I going to be shocked about something that comes out of nowhere? So they throw the bomb out the window of the Titanic. Haha, get it? It's the Titanic. It's funny because it's the Titanic. Just get it? It's the Titanic. It's funny. The Titanic is funny because the Titanic sank. It's hilarious because the Titanic is in the movie and it sank in real life. That's hilarious. Great. Awesome. So they throw this bomb out the window of the Titanic and they blow up the bad guys and then it's over. If you shaved off 60 minutes of this movie, I guarantee it wouldn't be any different. You could pretty much cut out every subplot, every other character aside from Holmes and Watson, and the movie would not be any different. Because it's mostly just meandering around and having John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell improvise for 15 minutes, and then they meander around and do it all again. It's not an entertaining movie. It's not funny. There's no satirical elements. It's not a parody of Sherlock Holmes. It's literally just the most obnoxious performances Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly have ever given, where they just walk around and accomplish nothing until the film says, we need you to accomplish something, and then they do, and then it ends. There is absolutely, positively nothing redeemable about this movie aside from Rebecca Hall, which I haven't mentioned because she's really the best part of this movie and doesn't deserve to be in this. She's too good for this movie. And she's the closest thing that this movie gets to a straight man and everyman, and yet she still is like this over-the-top caricature. It doesn't even know what it is half the time. Half the time it's a comedy, and then half the time it's a mystery, and there's no in-between. When the mystery elements are happening, the comedy elements aren't, and vice versa. I mean, you can go watch this for yourself if you want, but just know that you'll probably get a head-pounding headache like I did while watching it. So, wouldn't recommend it. See you later.